Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Simply Trade Roundup. Happy Monday if you're listening when it comes out, because today is Monday and it is, wow, okay, here we go. I'm not prepared because today's Monday the 19th when I'm recording this, but it'll be Monday the 26th when this episode comes out. So, hi, everyone. I hope you had a great weekend. Today's an interesting episode because, I told you guys I wanted to step more into the business side of trade. So, therefore, I got a great guest for you all. Today, I have Jordan Welke with me. He is part of the founding Welke family and represents the next generation of leadership, really following his father's and uncle's roles in building the company. I will let him explain more of the company just because that is what our conversation will be about. So we're diving deep into kind of the logistics, no pun intended, the logistics of the company and just everything about leadership, and kind of where we're heading in the trade industry. So with no further ado, hi, Jordan. Welcome.
How's it going?
It's great to meet you. It's so funny because we actually just met on LinkedIn, which is where I find it's so weird. Like you guys just pop up on my first For You page viewing and I'm like, what is this? Who is this? Or what's he talking about? And it was the funniest story about rented desks, right?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Yes. And you said that you guys have obviously acquired some more offices and that desks didn't get shipped fast enough, right? Was that the initial problem?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks so much for having me on the podcast. I'm
You're
excited.
welcome.
So, and thanks for reaching out. It was pretty cool to get that message.
Of course.
But yeah, 2025 was an amazing year for us. Probably a breakout year in my career for sure. In 2025, we opened 2 new offices in the US to kind of expand our footprint and service our clients better across the US. And our total headcount grew by 10 people, which for the size of our company was a lot, probably the most we've ever grown in 1 year. And coming into January 2026, we already have to hire 3 new people in our US office. So I was actually down there when I took that photo and posted on LinkedIn because we're planning some renovations of the office to expand and fit more people in the office. But we reached out to our furniture company to buy some more desks.
Yeah.
And they told us that it was going to be 5 weeks until we got the desk clusters that we usually order. And we have people coming like next week. So we had some rented desks that the furniture company gave us in the meantime. And they came and I was just super excited. And that was a true story because I was like, I never thought that a rental desk could get me so excited, but it did. And
it's very exciting. And I did tell you I had a question on that. Why? Yes. I know you can rent desks, which is great. Yeah. Love it. You can rent clothes too, by the way. It's perfect. But why not work from home at that point?
Well, so it was also because for our holiday party that we throw in Buffalo, we actually throw it in January instead of December. The US team prefers that. And we were flying in everyone from all the new offices for the party so that everyone could meet each other because we have like 3 or 4 people working remotely. Some are in Arizona, some are in Albany, New York, others in Virginia, and everyone was coming in. And so we were all going to be working at the office for the same day. So we thought, okay, we have these new people hired. We have all these people flying in. Let's rent the desks and get them working at least in the office together while they're here. But we do work off of a hybrid model. So we do like 2 days from home, 3 days in the office. So we do have the option, but we like getting people together, getting them in the office, and especially like your first day, if you're starting, like we don't want to say, hey, just work from home for like 5 weeks. Like we want to bring them in. We want them to meet the team. So yeah. We actually, even though I said rental desks, the furniture company actually gave them to us for free in the meantime. So we're not actually paying for it anyway. So
okay.
Temporary desks, not rental desks. But
forget all I said. Well, actually, that's incredible. And I like that you said the whole 5 weeks, like immediately working from home. That is definitely a thing that you kind of need to, get familiar with the people you're going to be working with, whether it's from home or in the office. I like that. I kind of want to start. This is a great story, by the way. And it says a lot about your culture. I have to say that you flew everyone in. Also that you mentioned Buffalo. By the way, I feel so bad for the Bills fans. Okay, sorry, I had to say it. That was a
Well,
terrible
okay,
loss.
it's funny. It's funny you say that actually because our holiday party turned into like a dual Buffalo Bills watch party because it was on this Saturday. So that happened with our like during our party, we were watching the game and obviously they didn't win. So our
Oh
team was
no, terrible.
about half the team of the party kind of left as soon as the game was done.
That is so sad. No, poor Josh Allen. Moving
Yeah,
on from that sad story, let's
next year for sure.
let's jump back to when your company was founded. So it
Yeah.
was founded, I think it was, oh my God, now I lost it. I had it here. 1985 by, it was your grandpa and your dad. Um,
Yes.
why do you know why they initially started it, or what was a problem that they wanted to solve? Because usually when you start a company, you see a problem that you have a solution for, right? Or just a
Yeah.
service that you can provide to people where you can excel.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, like you said, we started in 1985 in Toronto. So we celebrated 40 years in business in 2025 as well. So to have it
Oh,
as our most profitable year, and with all the growth we had in our 40th year of business, I mean, it couldn't have been more perfect, right? So we're really proud of that. We're really excited. But really like, my dad and my grandfather, the reason why Welke started was, so my grandfather, Rolf Welke, was at the time the chairman of the Import Export Association of Canada and also working for a customs brokerage at the time. And my dad was a runner working at the customs brokerage and they both hated their job. They were like, this place sucks. Like, it was super cutthroat. All they cared about was profit. And basically, my dad, who was very entrepreneurial minded, a risk taker, visionary kind of guy, went to my grandfather and was like, hey, like I said, this place sucks. Why don't we leverage your relationships of the Import Export Association and let's start our own, and let's focus on a place where we can have fun what we're doing and value our people and create something sort of special in the industry. So that was really the reason why it started. We started as just a customs brokerage in Toronto. And they took out a double mortgage on the house, and Welke started in the basement of my grandfather's house in 1985. So pretty cool, like origin story. And really our claim to fame of what helped us start growing a lot more was, I think in the early 90s, my dad cold called the president of Time magazine in New York City. He
no
flew
way.
to he flew to New York when he was like, I think my dad was like younger than me at the time. He was like 27, 28, flew to New York. They had like no money. So he spent like all the money they had to go there, closed the guy on the spot. And we became like, as like a 2-3 person company, we became the broker for Time magazine. And
What?
this was pretty essential in our story of how we developed, because it was obviously a very high value customer, very important, high volume, and they were on a just in time model. So the magazines would be printed and loaded on the truck and need to cross the border and be on the shelves that same day, right? Because they're constantly adding new stories and they again are being published very close to the time that they're selling the magazine. So we got really good at doing things quickly, but never compromising on compliance and never compromising on service. And that's sort of like the
Wow.
origin of what brought us to today. And later from there, we became the broker for basically every magazine company in North America. We became known as like the magazine broker. So from there, like we've diversified basically into every industry. So we're doing everything, every product you can imagine coming into Canada and the US. So food, manufacturing, automotive, consumer goods, e-commerce brands, electronics, like really everything you can imagine. From there, also our service offering has expanded. So we're Canadian customs broker, US customs broker, Canadian and US freight forwarder for all modes of transportation. We do 3PL warehousing services, kind of like everything end to end when it comes to the logistics process for importers and exporters across North America.
And your offerings have changed, right, with time, because that's how you guys started. But because I see that your offerings now, customs brokerage, freight forwarding, end-to-end logistics support, that's all the things you guys are doing right now, right?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
And that has changed from when you started, right? Because you guys didn't have all those offerings at that time.
Yep, we were just a Canadian customs broker when we started. So it's expanded in terms of our service offerings, like I said. So then we became licensed as a US customs broker, then a Canadian freight forwarder, and actually very recently we became licensed as a US freight forwarder. So that's a big part of our growth strategy going into 2026 is really pushing our freight forwarding and logistics services in the US. We actually just became licensed as an NVOCC at the end of the year,
Wow.
which we're excited about. So,
I mean, I
yeah.
know it seems like you guys are like progressing fast, like you not staying steady. You just make what's the next step? What? And I think that's so important. Like, my reasoning for starting these kind of segments, talking to people, that run businesses and especially family business, like small businesses that turn big, is just because there's so many people that are trying to do that. And I think it's difficult. I think you become
Mm.
stagnant at one point. You don't know where to go or even where to start. So what kind of struggles do you see? Or I don't know, how long have you been with the company that you have seen these like some struggles evolve, or with the time things have been changing, especially in the United States? Has that been affecting your company?
Absolutely. Yeah. Like, I mean, there's so many like ways that my mind is going right now. But so like to answer your question, I've been working with Welke just under 9 years now.
Hmm.
So I started doing just sales for the company, like just outbound sales, cold calling, door
How is
knocking.
that? That's tough.
Yeah, it was good, but I mean, it was hard. It is tough. It's a tough industry to be a salesperson. Like, I commend our sales team. We have an awesome sales team. They work their butts off, and it is tough. But I'm glad that I started there because it was a great way to learn the business, learn about the industry, and see it from both sides: the operations side, leadership
Hmm.
side, and the customer side. Right? Like, I really got a deep understanding of what people actually want and what they're looking for.
Yeah.
But I think I run the business alongside my cousin. Me and him took it over fully 3 years ago. And when we both started in the company doing sales, and it was difficult because we have always had a great reputation in the industry when it comes to service and our reputation on compliance and how we treat our customers, but we were behind on technology and we were behind on our processes. We're very like we were paper, like everything was being printed out, done with like files. And
Yeah.
so while I'm selling, had all these crazy ideas. And I knew, like, my dad would always say, hey, one day you're going to take this over. One day you're going to take this over. So in my mind, every time I saw something where I'm like, we could do that better. We could do this better. We can do that better.
Yeah.
Like, I had this like laundry list of ideas of things that we could do. And same with Derek, like even more on his side because he's our chief operating officer. So he's like very operationally minded, finance minded. So we both had all these ideas. And then like I said, just over 3 years ago, we took over the leadership of the company fully. And we just went like all in terms of like making improvements. And really over the past 3 years, we've been transforming the company. Like really like what we always say is like, we're sticking to our roots. So we're sticking to that. We call it concierge care. So like really super personalized old school service, but then bringing in new technology
Yeah.
to enhance that service. So our strategy with technology that we're really focusing on is, okay, how do we eliminate things that can be automated and that are very mundane tasks like data entry or AP invoice posting or like email sorting or like all these things that our team is spending so much time on and is very like
Tedious.
simple to
Yeah.
automate so that we can then have our people who are amazing and they're so good at what they do focus on managing the exceptions, giving better customer service, spending time with our customers, making sure when people call us, we answer the phone, we take the time to explain things. And that's really what we've been doing and has created a lot of success for us because everyone's saying that they are blending service with technology, right? It's like kind of what I'm saying, you'd hear every other one of my competitors say the same thing. But
Yeah.
me and Derek are pretty obsessed with like, okay, how do we actually execute on that? And how do we do this right so that we are creating something truly special in the market to differentiate ourselves.
I love how you're describing your business because truly, when I looked at your webpage, the first time, and I kind of scolded it, like what is this? Because again, I didn't know. Very modernized. It's funny because one of my questions, and you just answered it, was going to be how do you honor, the way your company started with, the culture of that kind of business to now, because you have the opportunity to change the entire company, but that'll also mean maybe losing clients and not honoring the culture of past clients and not honoring, your grandfather or your dad with what they started. So the way you describe it seems, just the right way to do it because you're mixing the modern part of life with just kind of the old culture, which is what you described. Anyways, I kind of want to jump into this one because it's so funny. So I
Well,
kind of,
one thing I wanted to add there too that I wanted to mention is I'm glad you said that because even though we have such a heavy focus on technology right now, a huge focus at the same time is with our people and company culture. And like so much of that's a big part of my job and a big part of Derek's job is like, first of all, because we have so much tenure on our team, we have such amazing people that have worked for us for a long time. Our strategy right now is like, okay, in 10 years when all those people retire, we want to have a new generation of really amazing people coming in. So our job now is creating somewhere exciting for where someone new wants to and young wants to come work for Welke, and they want to stay here and they actually care about what they're doing. They're not
yeah,
bored. We want people to love working for us, and that's why a huge part of our strategy is people, right? In an industry where things are kind of going the opposite direction and going just all in on technology, we're like, okay, how do we do both at the same time?
yeah,
Because I we can't take credit from this. This was always our parents' mentality, and what you hear a lot of business mentors say is like, if you invest in your people, you treat them right, you make them feel appreciated, pay them properly, give them freedom and autonomy to do the things that they want to do, you're going to get 1,000 times% more productivity out of them. They're going to care about you. They're going to stay so that you're not going to have to constantly be hiring new people, and they're going to keep your customers happy too, right? So it's like a win-win for everyone. So I'm
yeah.
glad you brought that up about like honoring the past because it's something that is very important to us for sure.
I can tell. What I was also going to ask is, well, you guys had tremendous success last year, obviously, and I'm sure you will continuing because you just seem like you're making the right steps in the right directions and just, choosing to move forward rather than backwards, even though you're still honoring, the past.
Yeah.
What do you think has created this type of success? Obviously, you're taking steps and you're showing initiative to make changes and keep up with the times. But what do you think has boosted that success in the past year?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because it's a combination of us being strategic, making the right decisions, reinvesting in the business, and creating a great product. But it's also just great timing because of circumstances in our industry has created a lot of demand for a service like Welke. So really, there's two things going on right now that are creating growth for Welke over the last like I'd say 2 or 3 years even, is first of all, a lot of our competitors that are similar to Welke in size, privately owned, family owned brokerages, they're all owned by like 60, 70-year-old guys. And their sons or their daughters aren't as passionate about it as me and Derek are. And a lot of
Mm,
them are being sold right now. Right. And you're seeing like over the last 5 years, I've seen so many acquisitions of our similar competitors or even larger competitors to private equity firms, to the large conglomerates that are in our industry. And when that happens, you have this whole list of clients who are used to being serviced by a company like Welke that are now with a conglomerate broker who conglomerate brokers, they have their place, right? They have, if they're working with Fortune 500 enterprise companies, they're great. But if you're in the small to medium sized space, and you're now forced to go to one of those larger companies, you're not going to be happy. And then they're going to go out on the market. They're going to look for someone like Welke. And we've captured a lot of those people that were unsatisfied. So that caused a lot of growth and is going to continue, I think, in the next 10, 15 years, as the baby boomers start to retire, it's going to create a lot of opportunity for us. And we're also going to be looking at some acquisitions as well. So if you're out there and you want to sell, give us a call.
Right.
And then the other one is complexity and increased complexity and
Yeah.
supply chain disruptions. Over the last 5 years, there's been so many things. Like that could be a whole other podcast just talking about things, but like the buzzword obviously would be tariffs.
Yeah.
The current administration in the US, in Canada, we had CARM, had obviously all of the issues during the pandemic, post-pandemic, even short-term thing like floods, strikes, all these things, right? Create such headaches for our customers, and it's getting more and more and more and more complex. And what does that mean? They need someone who can actually help them and can take that burden off of them so that, and if they're not getting that from, like, again, like I said, some people are going all in on technology and they're cutting costs and they're getting rid of customer service centers, or they have a lot of turnover and that service just isn't there. And that's our differentiator, is we're able to give people the time that they want. We have some, they call us, like, imagine Trump puts out a tweet and your tariff cost was just doubled, and then you're trying to like call your broker and they're not answering,
Yeah.
right?
Terrible.
What's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to go on Google and you're going to like, look, okay, I need a better broker who's like better with service, because when everything's going great, and like any broker can be good, like anyone can clear a shipment. Like, okay, if you can't do that, some brokers can't even clear a shipment on time, but I'm not going to say any names. But like, anyone can clear a shipment, anyone can like do all this, because we all do the same thing, right? But it's like, what do you do when these things happen sets us apart, and then that's again creating opportunity for us. So that's, in a nutshell, really what I think has caused a lot of the growth for Welke.
I love how real you're saying this, because it's, I have a lot of conversations, but recently I've had the best conversations in trade on the podcast, and then I hate to say this, but maybe it's because it seems like no, this is so bad. I can't say this. I have to cut it out because I want to say that it's younger people, but they're going to scold me. Wow. Okay. Well, let me see. Okay, I'm gonna retract that. Okay. I love that you said that, and honestly, it's very visible in your website. So I think you just brought it up. When they look up, when they're going through something, and they look up, okay, who's my next broker?
Yeah.
And they see your website. I have to say it's great, and this isn't a marketing bit. It is, and my favorite part. I wanted to use it. I actually used it in my last podcast, because this is some tea. But I was reading your segments of where you introduce everyone, and the question is asked: if you were a shipping container, where would you like to be routed to, and why? And I asked my last people that in the podcast, because I thought it was so genius. Like, it says a lot about people. I think they got it the wrong way, and they thought that they were going to get transported to the other place. But I'm like, no, like, it's like, where would you like, what would you like to see? Well, my favorite one was Peter Welke, because he said the Mediterranean, to see the beautiful coastline of Spain, Italy, Croatia, and Greece. And that to me is my favorite. You said Sydney, sun and surfing. I love surfing, but very bad at it. But I think it's so great. And to me, if I were to see that as a broker, I just would feel immediate, how would I say, just like a connection. You feel like, okay, I can call them up. Like, they seem like they're easy to talk to, and just because a lot, trade is so serious. And I feel like you just made a very serious topic unserious, but still in a professional way, because, you're obviously trying to help businesses compliantly move their products.
Thank you. Well, the brand is my baby, so you're complimenting the right person. But okay, so it's a good point, because like, it's one thing that the industry trends are creating opportunity, but then it's like, okay, we got to make sure they find us. So one of the things when I took over was, we were always, like, my dad and all of our salespeople were always great at articulating in person how great Welke was, but our online presence was horrible. We had, like, our website was like, it just wasn't even worth talking about, right? So I was like, all right, we need to figure this out. I wanted to take a different approach. So we hired a marketing firm, and I'm not even going to say the name because I don't want any of my competitors to like know, because they're just,
Yeah.
she's so amazing. They're based out of Vancouver. It's a smaller firm. And like a lot of our success is owed to her as well, because the amount of inbound leads we get is insane. But we took a really different approach. We're like, let's have some fun with it. Let's really make it different from our competitors. And again, like search engine optimization is the huge play here, because it's like, okay, when people are searching online, I want to make sure no matter what they're searching, Welke's coming up on the first page. They're landing on us. And then, like you said, they're getting the vibe of what we're all about, that we're like people first with a blend of
Yeah.
technology, and we have the same technology as the big boys, all the same competitors as the big boys, but you get that mom and pop feel, that mom and pop care. That's really what the brand is all about. And so I'm happy that that's what you got. That makes me really happy. And then
Yeah.
again, and then from there, it's like, okay, once they contact us, it should be super easy to contact us, like as little friction as possible to like get a quote to get started. And then we're all about, as soon as that lead comes in, we want to contact them as quickly as possible, because we want it to be that like wow experience. Because like I
Yeah.
said before, imagine tariffs just went up 100% or whatever crazy numbers it's been going up, and your broker's not answering you, and you've been working with them for 20 years, and then you contact this random company, Welke, and within 2 hours you're on a call with three
Yeah.
of our experts, right? Like that's going to be like, wow, these people are, and that's like all about like that speed, and that's what's helping us close a lot of business pretty quickly.
You actually just remind me of like a law firm. That's what I think of your, it's not a law firm, but
Yeah.
it kind of like the way you run it is very big law firm vibes, like very modernized, big law firm. That's just the feeling I get, because if I think about brokerages, it's very old and very, like we talked about right now, like paperwork, or it's simply just people that are, how do you say, like working for themselves. We have a lot of brokers working for themselves in the US. I'm sure in Canada as well.
Yeah.
But, they just do their own thing. They don't have this huge presence. And I think you're giving that opportunity for people to work for you, for this big company that has a big name and that is, under, how do you say, well, leadership that feels comfortable. And if you provide that to your team members, they can provide that forward to your customers, which ultimately ends up being just a positive for you. So the way you're running it, and I think it's a well, I don't want to say motivating sector, but oh my God, okay. It's the printer. I have the printer right here and it just turned on and it just scared me. Um, I feel like you're just creating this, I don't know how to say it, like this well-oiled machine, and it just shows that people can be successful and young in this industry, even if you have, what is the name? Like these young ideas where you're like, I want to automate this. I want to do this different. I want to do this. Because if we come into this industry and we see what's happening, we're like, I don't even like writing emails. I mean, send me a text. I know that's not possible, but it's like this whole ideology of how we grew up, right? And then we come into this old industry and we're taught to be doing things that no one should be doing anymore. Like, how do we revamp that? And I think you are doing just that. You're trying to revamp the industry by, putting it up to speed. Like where we are in life right now needs to be the exact same part of where we are in the industry, and we're just not. But it seems like you kind of are, actually. So
No, yeah, and I mean, the amazing thing is like we're, like I said, very lucky to have some great tenure on our team. Like we have people that have been working for us 25, 30 plus years. And I think what me and Derek have done a great job at is really articulating the vision of Welke and why we're making these changes, right? And then teaching people and seeing someone who started with Welke when we were like so small and doing everything on paper, and now we're teaching that same person how to use AI in their workflows.
crazy.
They're using all of our automations that we have internally, and really excited about it and adapting with us as opposed to being against it. And then, like I said, you get that perfect blend because you have someone that has all of this amazing experience from working in the industry from all of these years, but then they're adapting and willing to learn new skills, and it kind of makes them unstoppable, right? If you can have that blend of both. So
Yeah.
even though we're young and we have that attitude of like, let's make changes, technology, let's automate
Yeah.
it, we're like very also strong on sticking to, okay, that's great, but there's a reason why it's been working for this
Yeah.
long as well. And
Yeah.
so it has to be a blend of both. You can't just like completely throw away everything.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah,
One of my last questions is, well, I have like two more. So you're coming from a small business, right? And you're expanding, you're adding new business, you're adding new offices. How has
yeah,
the change been? Because I feel like, people that want to expand their business, maybe this could be some help. How has it been managing those people? Because obviously you can't control them as much as you could people in your own business. But if they are in a different country or, different state, I mean, different country for you at this point, what's the change for you, or how do you manage that? How are you doing the meetings, or how are you interacting with these individuals, or how are you choosing people to manage those people?
absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, like you said, so like Welke has 5 offices now, right? So it's not like I can be everywhere at once. And because our culture and our mentality is so important, like it's very important that it it doesn't like, because you see companies grow and then they lose that. So
Yeah,
we're like, okay, how do we scale and not lose that secret sauce? How do we go
exactly.
from 100 people to 1,000 people, but our pitch stays the same, and we can still say you get that mom and pop feel,
Yeah,
even if we're 1,000 people, right? So for us, really what it is finding the right people to help us manage the different divisions, the different offices. And that's what I think, again, we've been doing a great job, because it, first of all, again, articulating the vision and getting everyone on board, rowing in the same direction,
yeah,
right? That is what's so important. Everyone understands, okay, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? Where are we going? Everyone knows on our team what the plan is for Welke. Like, you could talk to someone that just started 3 weeks ago and they know what our like 5-year plan is for Welke.
perfect.
So I think that's super important, is communicating the vision, communicating the strategic plan company wide, so that everyone knows what we're doing and why we're doing things. They're
Yeah,
not just like putting a like, yeah. So, and then the other thing, like I said, is we're really, really focused on getting the right people on board to run each division, and then empowering them to do their thing. And then that way, our job as leaders just becomes keeping those people motivated and managing that smaller group of leaders. And then it trickles down from there, right?
yeah,
So we've been really fortunate to bring on some amazing people over the last couple of years that have been doing an amazing job, and at the same time promoting some people within as well to bring them into leadership positions. So kind of a blend of both. And that's really the strategy moving forwards, to ensure that we're not losing that secret sauce that makes Welke what it is.
yeah. That's great. And what about, I mean, the industry has been up and down, and we don't know what changes are coming up. How do you prepare your company for those? Like, let's say there is a change coming up, I don't know, maybe sometime soon that doesn't align with your company, or the way you have to change some things. How do you do that to still stay compliant? Because obviously compliance is like the most important part of, I think, your business. How do you just deal with, how do you say, like pitfalls or something?
You mean like outside factors
Yeah,
or internal?
outside factors.
I think first of all, it's having a culture of staying nimble, right? So making sure that as things come, we're not getting set in our ways, and that we take challenges on and we're willing to change, right? Like, so having that as our mentality.
Oh yeah.
I think another thing too, like one thing that we really promote internally is not being afraid to make mistakes, right? So
Mhm.
like promoting, like, it's okay if we mess something up the first time, but it's like learning from that and then improving from that
Yeah.
experience. That's what makes us different. And we own up to our mistakes. Like, if we, even with our customers, like if there is something that actually is a welcome mistake, we will 100% be like, hey, that's our fault. We're going to take ownership of that. And this is what we're going to do
Yeah.
to ensure that that never happens again.
Yeah.
Right. Not blaming others, and again, building an environment where it's okay to fail. So because the industry's so crazy. Like,
No, it's
so
true.
many different things are going to happen that we have to be adaptable.
Yeah.
And if people in my company are scared to like do things differently or whatever because they think they're going to get in trouble, then how are we going to adapt to that?
Yeah.
And then it's having really good people on our team that are experts at what they do. So we have compliance consultants that are full time on our team. We have licensed forwarders. We have people who are like supply chain analysts that are constantly looking for these things so that we're staying ahead of the curve. We're attending conferences. We're constantly learning, constantly like doing courses. Like 6 people from the Welke Canada team did the CBSA professional examination last year. So
Yeah.
from our leadership team. So like that just goes to show like we're all about education. So I know I'm kind of like saying so many random things because it's a
No, it
lot of
makes sense. I mean,
it's
I
a lot of it,
understand.
but there's a lot of moving parts to make
Yeah.
sure that we're adapting and staying on top. But that's really what comes to mind for me. And then again, it comes to technology. So compliance and safeguards, these are all things that are built into our system. So we have people double checking things, but then we have our technology also matching things up, making sure we're sticking with compliance. We have feeds coming in from different government agencies and different groups to make sure that all of our customer databases are updated and all of their trade lanes are updated with any possible supply chain disruptions. Like there's just the list goes on and on.
Yeah, no, it's great. I love this because people are gonna hear this and they're gonna think, okay, what can I change? Or maybe they are looking for something like this. It's just because businesses are struggling in the United States, I feel like, and some of them are doing great, but others they need some help, and maybe it starts within the culture. Like if you're struggling with outside factors, okay, yeah, you can't really control those, but what you can control is what's inside, and that's kind of what you were discussing. Of course, well, this was, first of all, you have incredible answers, but
Thank you.
also I wanted to say that I scored again with my search of people who I should come on the podcast. But this has been an incredible conversation, and while it is motivating, it's also so insightful just to see what we can do differently, like in any type of business. I mean, this doesn't have to be trade, but just the way we run a company, and especially with family businesses. Like I know there's lots of brokerage that are family businesses, and it's not easy to be in a family business, but you sure make it seem like it. But I want to thank you so much for coming on, and to our listeners, if this conversation is something that you enjoyed, please like, subscribe, watch our content, interact with us, let us know what you want to hear next from me. I always like to brainstorm. Of course, I love this new segment that I'm doing with getting deeper into different businesses. So that was fantastic. And thank you so much, Jordan. Hopefully we'll see each other at a conference.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me on. And one last thing I wanted to give a shout out is I'm looking for a freight and customs brokerage salesperson in the US. So if you heard this podcast and you want to join the Welke team and you feel like you would get along with that culture and you want to hustle and build something special with me, reach out to me. But yeah, no, thank you so much for having me on. This was really
Of
great
course.
to share the story. And I also want to give one last shout out to our team because they're amazing, and I wouldn't be doing any of this stuff without them. And it was such an amazing year, and they all worked very, very hard. So I want to thank my team.
I love that. Well, that's great. Well, to all our listeners, you have a great week, and we'll see you next Monday. Bye.